We, the members of the Polk County Sheriff's Office, are committed to excellence in providing law enforcement, detention, and public safety services. In partnership with our community, we will serve with integrity, compassion, accountability, and professionalism.
January 5, 2024. Kathleen High School teacher arrested for inappropriate relationship with student. Polk County Sheriff's Office Special Victims Unit detectives have arrested and charged 33-year-old Brandon Adams of Lakeland, a Kathleen High School teacher, with sex offense on a student by an authority figure, F2. After investigation revealed he had an inappropriate relationship with an 18-year-old student during the 2021 to 2022 school year and beyond. The victim disclosed that she moved in with Adams in June of 2021, when she was 18 years old, and had a consensual sexual relationship with Adams while he was still teaching at Kathleen High and during her senior year of high school, 2021 to 2022. This suspect used his position of authority over one of his students in the most egregious way. We will not tolerate this kind of behavior. Grady Judd, Sheriff. From Polk County Public Schools. Brandon Adams has worked for PCPs since August 2018. He has been on leave since November. PCPs has been investigating an incident that is separate from the PCSO case that led to Adams' arrest. In response to the allegations that led to his arrest, we are moving forward with Adams' termination. He had no prior disciplinary incidents in his time with PCPs, and passed a background check before hiring. Superintendent Fred Hyde has issued the following statement. I'm disgusted by the behavior described in this investigation. It is unacceptable for an educator to abuse their trust and authority by having a relationship with a student. We appreciate the work of the Polk County Sheriff's Office to help protect students and ensure that people who commit these violations are punished and brought to justice. Fred Hyde. December 7, 2023. Documented gang member arrested in Waverly drive-by shooting. The Polk County Violent Gang Investigative Task Force arrested 23-year-old Daquan Carey, who is a documented gang member in Winter Haven, for numerous felonies related to a drive-by shooting on November 22, 2023, in the Waverly area of Lake Wales. That morning around 3:20 a.m. detectives responded to 3rd Street in Waverly, where the two victims reported they were sitting in their vehicle parked in front of a residence, when a dark-colored SUV slowly approached from the east. As the SUV turned onto Hodge Street, the victims heard gunfire. After hearing gunfire, the victims fled. None of the victims were struck by bullets. The vehicle they were in was struck by at least one round. Numerous shell casings were found around the residence where the victim's vehicle was parked. No other homes or people were hit. During the investigation, Daquan Carey was identified as the drive-by shooting suspect. Detectives learned he is a documented gang member who has an active felony warrant for failure to appear, with original charges of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession of narcotics, and fleeing to elude. Detectives obtained more warrants for attempted first-degree murder, shooting into an occupied vehicle, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. On December 6, 2023, detectives following up on leads regarding Carey's whereabouts responded to the Della Vita apartment complex in Winter Haven, and located Carey behind the wheel of a Toyota Camry in the parking lot. As detectives were taking him into custody, he physically fought with them in an attempt to flee. Once they gained control of him and searched him, they found a loaded Ruger handgun, narcotics, and marijuana in his pockets. Carey was booked into the Polk County Jail with the following charges: attempted first-degree murder, FL. Shooting into an occupied vehicle, F2. -2 counts possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, F2. Possession of ammunition by a convicted felon, F2. Carrying a concealed firearm, F3. Battery on a law enforcement officer, F3. Resisting arrest with violence, F3. Resisting arrest while armed, F3. Possession of oxycodone, F3. Possession of prescription drugs without a prescription, M2. Resisting arrest without violence, M1. Possession of marijuana, M1. Possession of drug paraphernalia, M1. Failure to appear warrant, F3. His criminal history dates back to 2014, when he was 13 years old, and includes 20 previous felonies, 19 previous misdemeanors, and 4 felony convictions. This dangerous convicted felon and documented gang member has demonstrated that he has no regard for human life, and no respect for the law or law enforcement. He's proven that he will shoot anyone, anywhere, and fight with law enforcement if approached. We hope he remains locked up in prison for a long, long time. Grady Judd, Sheriff. March 5, 2024. Polk County Sheriff's Office arrests 228 during 8-day human trafficking enforcement operation. Operation March Sadness 2024. During an 8-day-long undercover human trafficking operation, which began on Thursday, February 22, 2024, the Polk County Sheriff's Office Vice Unit arrested 228 suspects involved in illegal acts related to soliciting prostitutes, offering to commit prostitution, or aiding and abetting prostitutes. Detectives from the Auburndale PD, Davenport PD, Haines City PD, Lakeland PD, Lake Hamilton PD, Lake Wales PD, St. Cloud PD, and Winter Haven Fire Rescue assisted with the investigation. The Office of the State Attorney 10th Judicial Circuit. State Attorney Brian Haas. Members from the Florida Department of Children and Families, DCF, and Social Services Organizations One More Child, Heartland for Children, and Sela Freedom were also on hand. Those who traveled to provide prostitution services were screened by detectives and the social services organizations to determine if they were being trafficked or exploited by others, and were offered services by the social services organizations. At the operation, this is a new record number of arrests during an investigation of this kind. More importantly, we identified 13 human trafficking victims during 2 previous similar operations in February and October 2023. We identified 24 and 21 victims, respectively. That's 58 victims we were able to identify in 1 year. The valuable relationships that we have with the social services organizations who join us in these operations make it possible for these women to get help and be emancipated from this way of life. Grady Judd, Sheriff. During this investigation, 13 possible human trafficking victims were identified of the 66 prostitutes who were arrested. There were 150 suspects arrested for soliciting a prostitute and traveling to the undercover location to negotiate having sex in exchange for money. 12 other suspects were arrested, and of those, 8 were either deriving proceeds from prostitution or transporting prostitutes to the undercover location. Detectives charged a total of 70 felonies and 288 misdemeanors during the investigation. The suspects' criminal histories included a combined total of 879 felonies and 1,150 misdemeanors. Some interesting notes from the operation. 21 of the arrested are suspected of being in the country illegally. Those who are here illegally are from Chile, Cuba, Guatemala, Mexico, Peru, and Venezuela. 41 suspects told detectives they are married. 11 suspects told detectives they receive government assistance. 44 suspects brought illegal drugs to the location, detectives seized fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, MDMA, hydrocodone, Xanax, methamphetamine, and marijuana. 15 suspects brought firearms to the undercover location, 17 firearms total were seized. 18 suspects were from other states and Puerto Rico, Alabama, California, Georgia, Illinois, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Wisconsin. The oldest person arrested is 73 years old while the youngest is 16 years old. Two brothers, ages 16 and 17 years old, came to the location armed with a BB gun, wearing hoodies and ski masks, and creeping around the undercover location as if they were about to commit an armed robbery of the undercover detective, who was posing as a prostitute whom they solicited online. Omar and Kalam Nayyar were both charged with attempted armed robbery, a felony, as well as loitering/prowling. During these types of undercover investigations, I can truly say that we have seen it all. And yet we are still surprised by some of the violent acts we encounter. These two teenagers were incredibly lucky that they did not brandish a firearm while stalking who they thought was a prostitute at a location filled with law enforcement officers. This could have ended very badly for them. This should also illustrate just how dangerous it is to agree to have sex with someone in exchange for money. There were 13 other suspects who brought firearms to the location. Grady Judd, Sheriff.
Equality before the law, also known as equality under the law. Equality in the eyes of the law, legal equality, or legal egalitarianism, is the principle that all people must be equally protected by the law. The rule of law is a political ideal that all citizens and institutions within a country, state, or community are accountable to the same laws, including lawmakers and leaders. It is sometimes stated simply as no one is above the law.